Welcome to a couple of bunkies. In last week's video, we picked out the resawn lumber and prepared it for our cut list in order to make these beautiful desks. In this video, I'm going to show you the process in which we made the legs of this desk.
We like a bead design and we also like a barley twist. So we wanted to use the combination of the two as our leg design.
In the last video, I left off with two of the legs cut, and I had set out some rough sawn lumber in order to make the rest of these legs. So I cut the board into about 30-inch intervals. Then I proceeded to plane the boards down until they were fairly straight and smooth. After I get done planing the boards, I take them over to the table saw, where I remove the rough edge and cut them into 1.5-inch segments.
We need 8 legs between the two desks and Tim's going to have to prepare 16 boards.
After the final legs are cut, I take them onto a flat sheet and start gluing them together in pairs of 2. In order to save on clamps, I clamped multiple pairs together and repeated the process for the next set of legs. I added a couple straight boards and clamps in order to keep the boards aligned. After the boards set overnight, I was able to remove all of the clamps. Some of the boards ended up being stuck together and I had to remove them with a screwdriver and a T-square. Yeah, this looks like I have no respect for my tools. Once the legs were all separated, I set the fence of the table saw to 1.5 inches and proceeded to cut the legs square by 1.5 by 1.5. Looking back on this, I would have liked to have a little bit more material for thicker legs. Because some of the boards had a little bit of a bow in them, I decided to go over them with the joiner. I was able to square up and mark the straight side made by the joiner so I could take them through the planer and square them up further. In order to make the legs as straight as possible, I ended up taking off 1/4 of an inch worth of material on each leg. So instead of the legs being 1.5 inches wide, they are 1 1/4 inches. After all the legs were straight, I measured them to the right dimensions and I squared them up with the miter gauge on my table saw. About a month ago, I released a small video on making a barley twist spindle. That was honestly in preparation for this video. The link for that video is in the upper right hand corner of the screen. I start off by attaching the indexing hub on all of the legs and preparing the other legs for the attachment as well, because I want to do this all in parts. I mark all of the top of the boards to the 3-inch mark, because that is where the bead design is going to start. Then from the 3-inch mark, I measure 15 inches and then do another 3-inch mark. After that, it'll be 9 inches until the end of the leg. I insert the first leg into the index hub and lock the project into place. By the way, the machine I'm working with is a Legacy Ornamental Mill. We have our first cut video on the upper right hand corner. Please give it a watch. I start off by rounding over the areas that need to be round. I use a 2-inch surfacing bit that I ended up getting from Amazon. I set the gearing and pitch of the machine in order to go at 1-inch intervals. I'm rounding over the 4 15-inch areas first. So I'm grouping the cuts into the 4 15-inch and the 8 9-inch. And since I only have 3 indexing hubs, I have to switch out one of the index hubs in order to go on to the next one. I switch out the surfacing bit for a 1-inch Barley Twist bit. I then start a bead design on each end of the 15-inch part of the leg. And I repeat this process for all 4 of the legs that require this 15-inch design. After I get the bead started on both ends, I move the router to the right an inch and finish off the bead pattern. And I do the same thing to the top of the leg. Now I locked the router into the X-axis screw and started cutting the barley twist into the leg. So far so good. Now I move to the other 3 that I'm working on. So I've been learning this machine over the last few months. Legacy no longer makes this equipment. However, they maintain a Legacy Ornamental Mill support group. This group has looked over a couple of my videos in the past and given me some key advice in order to operate this machine. I'd strongly suggest, if you're interested in a piece of equipment like this, going ahead and joining their group. Also, leave me feedback down in the comment section below if you see anything that I could be doing better. Also, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and ring the bell icon in order to get notifications for future videos. If you'd like my wife and I to keep making videos, please consider leaving us a donation through Super Thanks, or you can buy us a coffee at buymeacoffee.com. I again switch out the bit to a flattening bit. I proceed to round out the 9 inches for each of the 3 legs that I have for the index. I change the bit back to a 1-inch barley twist bit. I start the bead design on the upper and lower end of the leg and repeat this process through the 3 index hubs that I have. I move both of my stops inward an inch in order to cut the rest of the bead pattern. I finish the bead design on the top and bottom of the 9-inch segment. Then I cut the barley twist pattern into the leg. Now I go ahead and switch around the indexes so I can finish off all the 2 segmented legs. I had to switch out my router bit to the flattening bit once more. And this is how all of the 2 segmented legs are going to end up turning out. I use the flattening bit and I round over the 9 inches at the bottom of each of the remaining legs. Once I run out of legs, I go ahead and switch up the indexes and start working on the rest of the legs. Now again, I switch out the router bit to the barley twist bit. By following the same process that I did earlier, I finished the rest of the legs. We had gotten this Legacy Ornamental Mill about a half a year ago, and I'm finding more and more uses for it. It's starting to get incorporated into all of my future projects. Our next goal for our channel is to reach 5,000 subscribers. Consider helping us out by hitting that subscribe button. This is how the single segmented legs look. And this will be the final layout for each of the desks. I finish off each of the legs using the bandsaw. And that will be it for this second video on this desk build. Consider ringing the bell icon so you can see next week's video where we put together the frame.